Andy, how worried should we be then about the US men's national team bigger picture heading into these final three qualifiers? Because the injury situation, it is not good. Matt Turner's out,
Yeah.
Weston McKennie's out for the season, Sergino Dest pulled out, and then we had the Brendan Aronson fiasco, he's out. So there's, four starters right there that you would say would be starting away in Mexico, and the US has to do without it. So what kind of impact will that have on this very young team and very inexperienced team?
Yeah, the first 20 minutes, again, to kind of go back to something that DeMarcus told us, those first 20 minutes are a bit of a whirlwind in these games, and it always plays out like that on the field. You can always tell, and so I think that's going to be a very worrisome time without those four starters, because it's not just four starters; it's four pretty crucial and pivotal players for this team. And Brendan Aronson is the only player in the pool to have appeared in all 11 World Cup qualifiers thus far. He's going to miss the final three. Christian Pulisic has missed a lot. Gio Reyna has missed essentially the entirety of World Cup qualifying, and Brendan Aronson at times has almost carried the U.S. men's national team attack and gotten them over the line in games where it was looking like it might be a draw, and he turns it into a win, or a loss turned into a draw, and you steal a point. So I'm very worried about that one. Obviously, you've got Pulisic and Reyna coming back into the team, and hopefully Pulisic with some pretty good form can take up some of that attacking mantle that Aronson has carried. But the midfield worries me as well, because Weston McKennie has ascended to a new level that I think we all hoped that Weston McKennie would go to, but we weren't exactly sure that he would get there for a number of factors. And I think going to Juventus being one of them, it was either going to be a make or break moment for him. He was either going to get lost at too big of a club, or he was going to really raise his level and succeed there. And that's exactly what he's done. So I'm really going to miss him and Matt Turner as well. Zach Steffen has been injured throughout for most of the World Cup qualifying cycle. That's why Matt Turner became the de facto number one. So there's a lot of questions that Greg Berhalter is, I think, probably going to be losing a little bit of sleep over these next couple of days as he goes through with his coaching staff and tries to piece together not just what the 11 is going to be, but how are they going to be able to play cohesively as a group, given that many changes with that many key members out of the team.
I'm going to be slightly controversial here. Ultimately, should the USA just forget about this game and say, you know what, it's tough. It's at the Azteca. It's against Mexico. The main focus here is beating Panama at home in Orlando, and that pretty much gets the job done to qualify for the World Cup. I know there's some mathematics involved there, and you have to get the calculators and abacuses out and all sorts. But basically, if you win against Panama at home, then you're pretty much in the World Cup. Nick, should that be the focus? And maybe some of the guys who might not be in the strongest lineup for the US should play in Mexico? No, you don't think so?
No.
Why not?
No, what's this? No. Like this is nobody can do the shake like we do. I can't hate that more, and I'll tell you why. We have to have a bigger mentality than that if we want to be a team that succeeds at World Cups. First and foremost, the talent pool is deep enough. We have seen we've seen US B teams beat Panama at home. So to show Panama that respect is also something. Oh, do you see that the US has put so much focus on this game that they didn't even try against their supposed hated rivals? I just can't hate it more. We need to start acting like a real soccer team. I'm tired of, we're going to invite this team that we should beat anyways into 4-degree weather and make the fan base all live in hypothermia. I'm just done with it. It is such a little league mentality. And sometimes we see, if I'm going to be critical of I don't know if I want to go as far as to say the Federation, but I will say it with Berhalter, the defensiveness at even the most slightly askew question. It's good to have a chip on your shoulder. It is not good to be that, it just doesn't vibe with me when you've got players on Champions League teams and you're acting like you're in this startup league, which, relatively speaking, I get it, but even MLS has just destroyed where they should be in terms of passing things. The evolution of that league is amazing, and I just want us to act like our FIFA rankings are true. That's all I want to see, and that means you're playing your rival away, and you're expecting to get something.
Andy, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely, and I think that again, I'll go back to the experiences that will be gained from a game like this. Going down in Mexico playing a friendly, as I think probably a lot of players on this squad have done over the last handful of years. That's one thing, but you go in there in World Cup qualifying, and the fact that it's one of the final 3 games as well, that creates a pressure and an expectation and a demand for a performance like you're going to feel later this year at the World Cup. And so if we can't look at this game against Mexico and say we expect to go down there and get something, then how can we expect to go to Qatar this summer or this winter, excuse me, and say, well, yeah, they'll get out of the group and then they'll make some noise in the knockout rounds if we didn't even feel good enough about them being able to play Mexico and Panama 3 days apart with Costa Rica coming up right after. I'm with Nick. It is a mentality thing. And I think that's one of the things that if you probably ask any former player, and if we could have asked DeMarcus that, I think he probably would have shut it down just as quick as Nick did and saying, anytime we play them, I want to beat them. I don't care what the scenario is. That's the game that when the schedule comes out, you circle it and you look forward to it. And when it gets there, you spend all week anticipating it. And that's what we're doing right now.
Look, let's face it, Mexico, you could put them, let's put it this way. Do you want to be in a position where you're looking right behind you for your second game against Panama? Or do you want to maybe drive Mexico to be more desperate in its following 2 games? The more I talk about this, the more fired up I get. And how dare you, Joe, because there's still days until the game.
Hey, no wonder England haven't won the World Cup since 1966 with that mentality.
At least we've won it. I'm sorry. I had to go there. Sorry. I felt like I poked the bear, though, a little bit there. I didn't expect that that big of a reaction from you guys, because looking at it on paper, I would probably play a more defensive team and just go for a point away at Mexico, and then just,
that's fine too. If
that happens,
I think that's kind of going to be dictated to him given the injuries, and so I think there's a difference between playing a defensive game and the idea of we're not going to risk anybody for this game because we're going to prioritize 100% on the next one.
Yeah, Joe didn't expect it. A little bit like Robert Greene didn't expect Clint Dempsey's shot.
We've talked about this. Let's move on very swiftly. How confident are we then heading into these final 3 qualifiers, chaps? We've talked about this for, it seems like years now, this qualifying cycle has gone on. How confident are we that the US is at a very, very good position heading into the final 3 games and is going to qualify? I'm talking percentage-wise. Are we 100%, 95? I mean, given what happened last time, we don't need to talk about it again in 2017, but that's still something in the back of most US men's national team fans' minds, I think, when they think, you know what, something crazy could happen again. But it does feel a bit different now, right? I mean, essentially 5 points seals it, probably even less than that seals it. Nick, give me a percentage chance that the US is qualifying for the World Cup in the next week.
My gut only says 70, but I'm going to bump it up to 85 because I always forget until I see Christian Pulisic in that U.S. sweater how much of a game changer he is, and he's healthy and he's in form right now. And he was out there at age 18 almost dragging them to a World Cup. Remember how good he was in qualifying. That was not on him. And there is no way these guys are going to forget it with him now as a leader of that team in that room. Not that they were going to forget it anyways, but so I'll go to 85%.
85. Andy?
That seems low to me. I mean, we've kind of watched this team grow up since the 2017 debacle, right? Because Pulisic was already in the team, as you say, Nick, and then we knew a lot of the other players coming into the pipeline. So we've like almost micro-watched their careers, micromanaged their careers, every transfer that they've made or rumor that's come up about them, every performance, every injury that they've had, every camp that they've been in or that they've missed. And so it just feels like there is a really big moment coming from this team. And I don't know if that means winning at Azteca and effectively clinching their qualification at that point, putting themselves in a position where it would take almost mathematically would be impossible to not qualify then, or if it's just a couple of really dominant performances to close it out after a result, or maybe even a lot. I don't know what it's going to look like, but 100% this team is going to the World Cup just because they have been building towards this moment. And you can see the progression. If we had played this game a year ago, with that expectation, where those players were in their careers and where Berhalter, I think, was as a coach and where the program was in general, I don't know that I would have felt that way. But we've seen enough through World Cup qualifying when they've been down or they've had their backs against the wall, they've been beaten, they bounce back. They come back really, really strong. And I think they have a defiant mentality to this team because a lot of them have been told, you're not good enough to play at X club, wherever you're going. And then they go out there and they prove that they are. So this is going to be a big week for U.S. soccer. I really, really believe it.
That's a great point because I'm going to go with 95%, by the way. I think it's pretty much done. But it's a great point about the team, watching it grow up and hoping and dreaming what these young star players who've been through academies in Europe or gone there very, very young. I remember being in the tunnel in Genk in Belgium. The USA lost 1-0 to Italy in a friendly. Pulisic was downbeat. You had so many of these other young guys in that team, and they just got battered all over the place by England and Italy. They had an interim coach. This was not a good spot for these young players to be in. They've had a lot of growing pains the last few years, and I think they're a lot stronger and a lot more defiant than people think that they are. And I think you're right. Now, when you think about the average age of this team, we're only at the very start of it. So the real goal is the 2026 World Cup on home soil. I still honestly believe that. But getting to 2022 and having a really good showing, depending on what group you get put in, all the rest of it, that's going to be massive for the confidence of this young team. So a huge week coming up for the US men's national team in World Cup qualifying. Final 3 qualifiers, lads. It's all on the line. Let's see if they get over the line. Regardless, if they do or they don't, we'll be having a live show for the World Cup 2020-22 draw from Qatar. We'll be doing the stream live on NBC Sports' YouTube channel over at Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. There's details on how the draw works, when it's happening, all that good stuff. So we'll have you covered. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. We'll be covering the US men's national team and see which group they're in when they finally return to the World Cup.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.